welcome everyone to our Curiosity Club looking at video production. It's good to see you here. As always, with these, we record them. There's a number of people in time zones that this would not be convenient for them to be able to join us that like receiving the videos after they've happened. So we will record this so that it can be passed on to them later. I don't think there's much else to say other than it's good to have you here, and we hope that the next period of time is useful to you all. Jim is going to host, and Gary and Cathy are going to contribute in different ways. We've had a load of questions come through for this session, so I'm curious, as everybody else is, to find out what I'm going to learn. But Jim, can I hand over to you?
Thanks, Phil. We do have a list of questions. The tricky thing about talking about video production is sometimes there's software training involved and things like that. We are not going to be doing that today, but we're going to try to answer a lot of questions, and we'll probably raise more questions. So as with all of these, feel free to speak up if you have a question. Feel free to put something in the chat, whatever you want. And we will, after this is over, have a recording. We'll also give you some links and some resources. This will go on the Alliance website, and I should advertise too that there's a new Alliance website coming next week. So same address, but it's going to look different, and there's a lot of communication resources that you'll see on there. So as we start, I'll introduce Gary and Cathy. They are both with the Alliance communication team, and Gary is with Wycliffe Australia. Cathy is with Wycliffe Philippines. So it is getting to be late at night for them right now. So thank you for doing this on strange time. Either of you want to quickly tell what you do, and then we can jump into some questions. Cathy, go ahead first.
Good evening, everyone. I'm part of the communications team of Wycliffe Global Alliance, and will soon be part of the communications team of Wycliffe Philippines. So I do documentaries and then promotional videos. There was a couple of instances where I was able to be part of a team that created a music video and short film. So that's my background in video production. And I was part of a team in the Philippines when I was still working for our government. I'm part of the radio and television news team. So we provide news for different stations here in the Philippines.
Thanks. Gary?
Yeah, so I'm with Wycliffe Australia and Global Alliance. My commitment to Global Alliance in October is doubling, so it'll be a 50-50 split. But for the last 10 years, I've been doing digital media with Wycliffe Australia, primarily making videos and running our YouTube and Vimeo channels, and occasional travel to various parts of the world producing videos. So it's something which I enjoy doing, and I guess I have a passion for.
Okay, well, let's jump into some questions, and I've sort of grouped these by category. A lot of the questions that came in were about doing this on a limited budget, and I know that's true for a lot of our Alliance organizations. So let's just start with that. What if I have no budget for video production equipment? Where do I even do to start? And you guys can decide who jumps in on these, I guess.
Maybe if we have a limited budget, let's start with what we have. Like if you have a phone where you can record videos, then start with that. And then one of the things that I find useful is that if you have a computer with you that is able to record a what we call talking head, like for example, just for a short video where you do a narration. In Mac, I'm using Mac. You can use your photo booth. There's a portion there where you can record your video. So I did this tutorial video and I used a photo booth to introduce the thing that I was doing, like a tutorial on how to make documentary videos. So I used that for photo booth for my project. And then there is also an advantage if you have Zoom. You just click start meeting, and then you can also record from that. You can record things or record interviews with people, and then you can also ask people who have tons of videos with them, like B rolls. I whenever I do a project and I need some B rolls, like example sceneries or people reading the Bible, I ask for help. So if you have limited budget, then look for people who can help you with it.
So just to throw a term out there, B-roll, if you're not familiar, is the little clips of things that go on top of an interview or something where you're just seeing little scenes and things like that. So I think probably we're familiar with that, but I'll jump that in. Okay, Gary?
To answer that question, yeah, I'd say use what you have. Most people these days have a smartphone. On the internet, you'll find there's lots of free software, there's free music, and then even to get the message out there, there's many or most, if not all, social media platforms are free to use. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So you don't actually have to have a budget to be able to distribute your creations beyond yourself. So it can be done cheaply.
Yeah. You both had mentioned smartphones, and that's another question is, if we're going to use this to shoot video, what are the limitations we should be aware of that, if you had a video camera, you might be able to do things one way, but if you just have a smartphone, what would you need to be aware of?
A brief answer is smartphones are great because firstly, they're convenient. Like the best camera you have is a camera you have with you always. So often there could be a situation where you'd love to get a photo or a video, shoot some video of something, and I left my camera at home, or I couldn't take it on this trip because it's too bulky. So that's a great thing about smartphones. Often we have it in our pockets or purse or wherever. So it's great. Smartphones also have the advantage that they have lots of automatic features in them. Yeah. But the limitations of them, I would say, are they have a much smaller sensor in them. So in low light situations, they don't perform so well. So, for example, if we're comparing the sensor on a smartphone, it's like having a room with a tiny little window. It can only, have so much light coming in, but a more dedicated camera has got a much bigger window, so much more light, and so more data can be collected, and so you get a much better video quality from that. Another advantage of a smartphone would be, it's cheaper because most people already have one. But advantages of a dedicated camera would be, much better image quality, as I've said, better in low light. You can have full manual control, so you can actually adjust settings, your aperture, shutter speed, etc., which is a lot fiddlier, or white balance. So that sort of thing's a lot fiddlier using a smartphone. A negative is, it's much more expensive and it's also bulky. So, yeah, I like to put my cameras into my hand luggage when I'm traveling, but I have to still be really careful. I usually have 2 or 3 lenses with me, the camera, plus I have a couple of other things. So it's just bulkier and harder to travel with. And I guess another advantage of a dedicated camera is you have better audio inputs. So, for example, my camera, I can plug an external microphone in, as well as I have a headphone slot. So I can actually have the headphones on while I'm recording and actually hear pretty clearly what's going on. Is there a lot of background noise happening that I'm not aware of? Because, yeah, we'll get on to audio quality, but later on. But that's one of the big things. Getting really good audio can be a tough thing. And I've been disappointed. I've got back to the office where I haven't monitored sound correctly, or I haven't had headphones or whatever. And yeah, suddenly you've got all this wind or something, and it's a real pain if you have a bad sound quality recorded. To improve the sound quality is really difficult time. So, yeah.
Cathy, I'll follow that up by asking you about using an external microphone with a cell phone. Have you done that? And does that improve things?
Actually, external microphones are very helpful, but if you are in a low budget, it's not necessarily required, but it's highly recommended. But what you can do if you don't have a budget for a good quality microphone, when you do record videos, as much as possible, go to the most quiet place where you can have a really good recording, because sometimes you can, just like what Gary said, you can have a very good video, but once your interview or your audio is bad, then it's difficult to redo everything, especially when it's an interview. And then another thing that I could add with the difference between using a phone and uh high end cameras, sometimes when you do interviews using high end cameras, people get intimidated speaking like uh people tend to be nervous and all that, while when you use a phone, and especially if it's just short uh bits of information that you just need, then using a phone is less intimidating with people.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I do the same with a voice recorder when I interview someone. You just don't want it to be so obtrusive that they're focusing on that, and a big camera setup will tend to make people more nervous. Okay, good. So we'll jump ahead here and say again we're on the limited budget section here, but do you have software applications that you would recommend for editing video, especially that would be free or very low cost and easy to learn?
Okay, for Mac, you can use iMovie. It's a free software where you can play around and edit things. It's easy to use, and there are video tutorials available in YouTube University. That's where I started learning how to edit. And then I found out from my nieces that there's this an app called CupCat that you can use. It has mobile and desktop app freely downloadable. And then there's also Shotcut.
Okay. Yeah, there's quite a lot. And you both have, or I think Cathy, you mentioned YouTube. It's such a great resource, and you can jump onto that anytime you have a question about basically anything in life right now. But with video editing, I've learned a lot by just asking a specific question on YouTube and finding the right video training. So it's a good place to start.
Can I just speak about the video editing?
Yeah, great.
I'd be cautious using CapCut. There's concerns about security with it. A program I would recommend if you're serious about video editing, it's a tougher learning curve, but is a program called DaVinci Resolve. And that does really high-end stuff. There's a free version and a paid version, but even the free version, it's on Windows and on Mac, and it's really worthwhile trying. A lot of the high-end YouTubers, etc., are using DaVinci Resolve, but there is that tougher learning curve. But yeah, YouTube has got heaps of videos of how to learn.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, again, there's just so much available on YouTube to learn anything you want. We've kind of hit on some tips for recording clear audio on a budget. And Gary, I think you had mentioned getting to a quiet place, or maybe you both said that, and away from wind, away from bird noise, insect noise, anything like that, and just trying to find a very quiet room. Again, even with just a cell phone and no microphone, maybe would there be other tips you would say for recording clear audio other than what we've already talked about?
One option which wasn't mentioned, you can always use a second smartphone. If you're limited, you don't have that external microphone. Another option is just to have a second telephone, smartphone closer to the person you're interviewing to record the sound there that way. If you do have an external microphone, then it's worthwhile investing in a dead cat, if you know what that is. So that's a wind muff that goes over the microphone to stop a lot of the wind noise. Yeah. And then, like I mentioned before, if you don't have the ideal recording environment, even start off, record something, just a minute or something, then go back, and if you've got headphones say if you're filming with your smartphone, just go back and listen with headphones. Is this sounding okay? Just stop the interview or just do a prelim interview, and then you can decide whether do I need to move to a different location or not. But yeah, generally out of the wind.
Yeah.
Another tip in recording clear audio, before you do the actual recording, make sure that you test record, like you adjust your recording, do a test recording to find out whether ambient sounds are being picked up, and then make sure you turn off fans or air conditioning or any put your cell phone on silent mode, because sometimes there's really good interview and your phone is not on a silent mode, so it distracts the interview or the video shoot. So make sure all the electronics that create might create sound are turned off or muted.
While filming or recording in a location where there's a sound you can't get rid of, for example, if you're recording near a river, and there's going to be that river noise, shoot some B-roll of the river, show them that this noise you're hearing in the background, show them the river, and then that helps to cancel out in the people's mind that, oh, that's what that sound is in the background. That's that river. So you can help negate things that way also.
Wow, that's an interesting tip. I've never thought of doing that. Where do we find free sound and music to use in videos? I know people like to drop music behind that or sound effects, whatever that might be. What's a good place to look?
The internet.
All right, next question.
There's a free software from bensound.com. So you just type in www.bensound.com. It's free for personal and non-profit use. And then there's also there's an audio library if you have your YouTube account. There's an audio library where you can get music free of charge. And then just an advice, when you use music, always check the usage rights, because some music requires attribution, like you have to mention where you got that music. And I think for for respect for the owners, we can include them in our videos.
What you specifically don't want to do is, I've got a favorite song I heard on the radio, so I'm just going to record that and use it behind my video. That will get you knocked off of YouTube and Facebook, and because you're violating copyright if you do that. So yeah, use the stuff that you have the rights to. Gary, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I could list various sites, but yeah, it's just I'd recommend just search for free royalty-free music, and you'll find we could list various ones, but there's quite a few of them out there. So I think we have paid accounts where we can get all our music. So we have an annual subscription. So we're not using usually the free stuff out there. So
I'll say that YouTube and Facebook both have decent music libraries where you can grab things. Cathy mentioned YouTube. There's also something called Adobe Podcast Studio if you are using Adobe products that also has some free music. So yeah, lots of sources for that. Let's jump to social media. That was kind of the next big topic that people had asked about. So here's a very general question to start. What tips can we offer about making videos that attract young people?
I think the first thing that you have to do is know the language of these young people. They have a different language, and then make sure that when you create a video, you hook them in the first 3 to 5 seconds. So you can start with a bold statement or a question or an eye catching visual. Yeah, and then this is a fast-paced generation, so we have to keep it short. I think the shorter, the better. Like bite-sized information that really would catch their attention. So yeah, when we write a script or when we think of a script for them, make sure that you speak their language. There are, language is evolving, so you have to be, you know, uh, you have to be a friend to them so that your message could come across.
You talked about short videos. I know different platforms allow different lengths, but when you say short, how short do you mean, Cathy?
There are 15-seconder videos or 15 to 20-seconder videos for the young people. So it actually depends on what's the purpose for doing the video. Like, for example, if you're doing it as a public service announcement, or is it a promotional video, or is it a inspirational video? So it depends on the purpose. The length of your video will depend on your purpose for creating the video.
Okay. I know one thing we've found true is that if we have a longer video, chopping it up into people will watch several short videos before they will watch one longer video. So and that's regardless of age, I think we found that to be true. So it's one way to get a longer video out there, but in a digestible format. Cathy, I know you were going to show a quick video. Is this the time to do that?
Maybe I'll share a bit more before I show. So,
Okay.
for example, you're building a short video like under 2 minutes, and for you to tell an effective story, you have to know who your target audience is and the purpose for creating that video. Just like what I said, if it's an inspirational video, you can just shoot a scenery and then add verses into it. If it's informative, then it takes a little bit longer because you'll discuss things about what you are informing people about. And then there's also videos that promote something. So if you're producing a video, think of three parts. First, you have to have the hook, which is from 2 to 10 seconds, just to grab their attention. You present a problem or a surprising fact. Like for example, if I give you this statement. In the Philippines, you can have a quick conversation by just using the consonant B and the vowel A. So people will be curious, how do you do that? If I want to say a conversation, you want to ask a person, are you going down? Then you say in the Philippines, bababa. And the person who will answer, if that person is going down, the answer is bababa. So it's a unique way of presenting that languages are unique. So you can use that introduction maybe to present, statistics, that languages are, how do you call that? Each languages are unique, and then you relate it to presenting. Did you know that there are different languages in the world? Like there are 7,000, more or less 7,000 languages in the world, and not all of them have the Bible. And if you want to, participate in Bible translation, so that's your body. That's the mid, what do you call that? Your content or the insight that you want to share. And then at the end, there has to be a call to action. Like you ask people to respond. Like if you want to be part of Bible Translation Ministry, go to www.wycliffe.net. So there has to be a hook, the message, and a call to action in making a mini story arc. So I'll show you an example of a promo video that we created, uh, promoting the two podcasts that Wycliffe Global Alliance is currently producing. So when I created this promo video, one of our team members said, "Oh, I thought it was a movie or something." So I was so happy because she thought that was the intention for writing that script. I would like to present it as if it's a movie, but in fact, it's a podcast. So let me share with you uh, the sample video.
In every language, there's a story. In every journey, a glimpse of God's heart. Explore how God is at work in Bible translation across the globe through the podcasts, The Journey, and in the company of travelers from the Wycliffe Global Alliance. The Journey features conversation with global experts about issues and trends impacting Bible translation movements. In the Company of Travelers offers global conversations and insights, exploring how Christ-likeness can shape individuals and organizations. Listen and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio. Go to wycliffe.net to access all episodes.
So if you notice, the video has an intro and then a message promoting the two podcasts. It's hard to pronounce podcasts. And then the last one, there's a call to action. So if you're going to produce a video promoting something, you can have this formula: hook, message, and call to action.
And Cathy, that was about a minute long, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed as I was watching was how many different B-roll cuts you used. You didn't linger on one image for more than 3 or 4 seconds, which is another technique, I guess, to keep people interested, right?
Yes, because if they just, when people just look at one image, then people start to lose their attention. We start to lose their attention, and then they start to look for something else. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Gary, anything to add on producing very short social media videos like that?
Oh, Cathy's covered it well. Just on the point of the B-roll or the overlay, it's really your friend when you're making videos, because it's very good at actually not only providing visual stimulation, but it's also a wonderful way of hiding cuts. So often when you're doing an interview, people will make mistakes or and ah, or give you a whole lot of information that is irrelevant, but you can just cut it and you just have something going over the top so people don't know that you're actually editing the footage. So it's truly a wonderful gift uh, to use when editing. You know, you shouldn't change things around. You shouldn't be building sentences that people didn't actually say. Or I'll occasionally reconstruct things a little bit. If a person's not speaking English, isn't their first language, for example, they can be a little awkward and you know what they're trying to say, but sometimes I'll reconstruct a sentence. But yeah, generally we need to be loyal to what people have presented, but you can actually shorten it.
One thing I learned in the few videos I've done is you need way more B-roll than you think you're going to need. And Cathy, I don't know how many clips there were in that video, but a lot. And so you always want to shoot, like these 10-second clips of B-roll that you can then edit into something, but shoot like 10 times more than you think you'll need. And
Yeah.
you probably will need it all.
And a variety of shots. So wide angle shots, closer in ones, but even fine detail, zoom in on a plate of food or if you're trying to cover a certain culture, um, oh, like if there's a particular style of architecture, not or it could be architecture or art or clothing or something, just bring people, just collect all these little aspects that help transport people to this new location. It's going to be visually stimulating for people if they can have that real mixture of things. If you start, I'd encourage you to analyze good videos and things and just see what they're doing. You'll see it's not just a single shot. It's a whole lot of different angles, close-ups, setting the context, show where this person's standing. Are they in the middle of a desert, in a little hut, translating away? Show them working on their keyboards as they're translating the Bible. Show them interacting with the people. So it's just collecting a variety of different shots just to build a picture visually to stimulate people, engage people in the message you're trying to present.
There's a question about video formats. I don't want to get deeply into this, but here's a way to simplify that, I guess, is do I shoot this way or this way when I shoot videos, vertical or horizontal? And I know like TikTok would encourage you to shoot vertical, right? But is there just like an all-purpose way you should shoot so that you're covered?
It depends on the social media platform you are using. So for Facebook, you shoot this way. So if it's also YouTube Reels, you can use this way. It's what do you call 19:16 ratio. And then for YouTube and for other things that you want to post in YouTube, you can use this one and shoot this way. And also be mindful of the angles. Like for example, some people, I ask them to send me a medium shot. Like a medium shot is like this. Sometimes I get shots like the the frame is covered with their faces. So be mindful of that when you take videos, because if you want to add like subtitles, then subtitles sometimes land on their chin or their forehead, something like that. So be mindful when you do some interview shots. And then also another angle is like for example, this is your camera, you shoot like this. So camera angle also tells a story. When you shoot at an angle like this, you're feeling inferior.
Hmm.
And then when you shoot like this at this angle, like you tend to be conveying that you are superior. So when you do record, do at least an eye level. And then if you're using a phone, one of the tricks that you can do is first of all, avoid, if you're using your hand, sometimes it's shaky, so you get a shaky footage. One of the tips that I can share with you is that you lean. If there's a wall, you can lean on the wall, and then do a steady grip on your phone and do an eye level as much as possible. So it's like you are the human tripod.
Cathy, you mentioned reels, and I thought maybe we could quickly touch on that. Is there a difference between reels and just what we would call regular video, or what is a reel?
Reels are shot actually at the 19.16 vertical and usually used for phones, because
They're
when
very short, right?
you shot this way, and then you're using your video for reel, you'll get a small image in the screen, like there are black spaces on top and the bottom. So it gives you the disadvantage of not being able to show details in your video.
Okay. And they're very short as well, right?
Yeah.
Like what, under 30 seconds? Is that what a reel is? It's somewhere in that range, I think.
60-second or
Okay.
Yeah, it can be more.
Okay.
Like if I'm in that situation, I like to try to use the footage I'm shooting in many places as possible. Like with Wycliffe Australia, we have a YouTube channel, we have an Instagram channel, we have a Facebook channel, but I don't want to have to shoot something twice. So if I'm framing something correctly, I will generally shoot 16 by 9, so this way. But then if I've framed it correctly and there's enough space around me, so if I'm back further, then potentially later I can then format it using software into the 9 by 16, or another alternative for social media is just 1 by 1 is also square is also acceptable.
Yeah, that's really helpful to know, because you could feel overwhelmed by feeling like you had to shoot 4 different videos for 4 different formats or something. And really, it's just about framing it so you can crop it different ways, huh?
Like sometimes if you know it's just going to be something for Instagram or whatever, shoot vertical video. But if I've got an option that I can use the footage in several ways, I try to shoot the landscape.
Mistakes, we might have mentioned a couple of these already, but what mistakes should beginners avoid while they're filming? I know we talked about maybe shaky shots or sound issues, but are there other things that you see with people who are brand new to this that you could help with?
Bad lighting is an issue. I talked about earlier, if you're using a smartphone, you've got a tiny sensor. And if you don't have a budget, you can't afford big lights or whatever. But you can overcome that problem of lighting just using natural lighting. So set yourself up for an interview near a window, for example, so that it's on your side, and that it's just casting light at least on one side of the face. try to avoid backlighting, because that'll cause a lot of problems. So having the window completely behind you or a great bright light. So yeah, try to just think through that sort of thing. Composition of the photo, of the video footage. Often I won't actually put a person in the center of the screen. I'll put them off to a side looking in, just to create some space. So there's various things like that. Another mistake is basically producing a video with basically no story. A bit like me speaking at the moment. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with what I'm saying, but you can make a video like that you can say a whole lot of stuff, but there's no story, there's no real information. You don't know where you're going with it, and people don't know what to do. So it is worthwhile, planning if you can. And as Cathy was saying, have a clear beginning, so some sort of hook, have a middle, and then have a call to action ending. And then the other thing that I thought of that to avoid is basically, you've touched on this, Jim, just not having enough footage, not enough B-roll to do that. Just don't underestimate it. If I'm going on location somewhere, I like to actually go earlier or later and then spend a day or two of collecting that B-roll, that additional footage.
Also consider the background, especially when you're doing interviews. There was an instance where you can get good interview, and then you forget about the background of the person talking. So sometimes there are dead branches protruding on top of the head. So you can't use the videos anymore because it looked like an antler, a human having antlers, something like that. So be mindful whenever you shoot videos, be mindful of your background.
Yeah. Do you both use a shot list when you're planning a video? Do you actually make a list of what you want, or do you kind of just go on the fly and decide then?
I still go back to the purpose for the video, and then I create a script. So as I create the script, I imagine what kinds of videos will convey my storytelling. Like it's like a visual storytelling. So I imagine what kinds of shots. So it's another topic. So there are different shots and they have different purposes. Like for medium shot, close up shot, or macro shots, they convey different meanings. And you also have to consider, just like what I gave as an example, camera movements also tells a story. So when I do the editing, I picture in my mind what sort of shots do I need to convey the story. It's like if my friend will look at the video that I will show to that person, to my friend, will he or she be interested in looking at it? So another technique that you can do if you want to start a video project is you do a storyboard. If it would help you, it's like boxes where you imagine in this it's like a shot list of your story. It's like a storyboard, how your video would come out. So you do some drawings of stuff that you want to shot first, like images of people or scenery. So that will be helpful in your storytelling.
So it really is helpful to envision the whole thing in your mind before you go out and shoot it. And even though often it'll change because the person will say something or you'll encounter something that may change it, but to start with a plan really helps. I have a question about editing, and that is the hardest thing for me, I think, is if I do an interview with someone and it's longer than 2 minutes for sure. It's really hard to cut it down because I don't know what to cut. I feel like every piece is important. And so, how do you make some of those decisions as you're having to be really ruthless and get the total video down to, say, a minute and a half, 2 minutes?
With a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes it's brutal, and sometimes there can be some fantastic quotes that you've collected, but it just doesn't fit the story, or it's just additional information. So you've just got to learn to be drastic, and don't think, well, you can't ever use it, because those key little statements, that these gems that somebody might have shared during an interview, doesn't mean you can't use them in the future just for a short video, just for social media. Just these wonderful quotes are great. So, but just make sure you have a clear story, and yeah, get feedback from people. I usually produce a draft, then I submit it to a team of people who look through it and ask questions, and just get that feedback. Often we can make the mistake that something's very clear in our own mind, that this is really logical what I've done because it's all up in my brain. But in reality, when you get feedback from people, they're not joining all the dots that we have in our own brains. So so always work in conjunction with people, get that feedback.
Yeah, let me share something that Phil taught me. My boss taught me. When I started creating a documentary series, I felt that everything was okay and I had good materials, and this is what inspired me to do documentaries. I always remember it, and it always resonate to me whenever I do videos. Phil told me that you can have great stories, but your story should point back to God. So that's whenever I do a story, I it resonates every time that God is the hero in the story. So that is what my boss taught me, that we always point everything back to God, and when we point our message back to God, then it will minister to the people who will view our video projects.
Yeah, great point. I'm watching time here. We're down to about 5 minutes. I wanted to ask about AI a little bit, and to ask, is it even worth the time right now to learn software, to learn how to do some of these things, when it looks like AI could probably do a lot of this without me having to know the technical side? Have either of you experienced anything with that yet?
Editing, it's as such, no. How I have used AI is basically for story idea creation. So for example, there was a video done by a different mission that I liked for young people. I got AI to analyze that video in light of what Wycliffe Australia was doing. I gave it a topic that I wanted to focus on, and it suggested a basic storyline for a video. So it's good. I use it for creating, well, I'm experimenting with creating ideas for stories, especially short stories. But yeah, at this stage, a lot of the AI stuff, from what I've seen, for free, you only can get very short clips. I think it's still at the stage where some money, a lot of these AI things say it's for free at start, but the further you get into it, you might have a 30-second video you want to make, you get up to 20 seconds of editing, and then they're after money for you. So, yeah.
That's a wonderful idea to use it for planning, though, because it's really good at that. And you can give it fairly sketchy information, and it will give you quite a lot of steps. And it doesn't mean you follow everything, but especially if you're working alone or in a very small group, Gary, you were talking about getting feedback from others. If you don't have that luxury, that's a way to do that too, right?
Yeah, it can be, yeah. Just a side note on this topic with AI. I have no doubts that as AI increases, I'm sure we've all seen deep fake videos out there and they're looking more and more convincing. But just my personal opinion is that there should always be a place for videos that show real people in real locations doing real work. And so, uh, yeah, think it would be a mistake and bad for our credibility if we start faking a lot of stuff, materials that we're producing. So maybe AI can help with editing, but I'd like to think we still stick to real, real people doing real stuff. I can see a place also of parts of the world where we're not allowed to talk about where we're working, then maybe you can do something, but point out always that this is AI generated.
Yeah, I've wondered if we're going to have to reach a point where we need to tell people when it's not AI generated, because there's going to be an assumption that a lot of stuff is. But yeah, in fact, the Alliance is working on some ethical guidelines for AI, and I hope your organizations are also, because it's important. Cathy, anything on that? And then we'll wrap up here soon.
I totally agree with Gary. I still believe that authentic videos are more powerful than AI generated videos. So yeah, I totally 100% agree with Gary with that. And then I noticed, Jim, we have question.
Yeah, I just looked at that too, Cathy. It's how do you reduce the size of a video while maintaining the quality? You want to quickly address that?
If you're using Vimeo, you can upload your large or high resolution videos, and it automatically creates different size for it. I'm not sure yet with YouTube if it has the same process. So you maintain the quality in Vimeo. If you have a Vimeo account, that's very helpful in reducing the file size.
But there's a free Vimeo account that gives you very little storage space. But I think a lot of the software you have will actually give you the option of when you export the file, what resolution is actually exported in. But yeah, Cathy and I have the privilege of we have a paid, more expensive editing software, so that's not a problem for us. But so I don't think either of us are experts on free software options because we're not operating that space. But I'm sure there's things out there.
Well, again, from this session, we'll put this video out on our website and accompanying notes and links. And we would love it if those of you on this meeting or anyone in your organization has questions about the video production. You can email us at info@wycliffe.net, and we would be happy to get back to you. We probably will do a follow-up session or two at some point on video. I know it's a topic that everyone needs a little bit more information on. So I want to say thanks to Gary and Cathy for staying up late and doing this and offering some really good advice. So Phil, let me kick it back to you to close if you would.
Yeah, just to say thank you to everyone for being here and for joining in this conversation today. It's been good to have everyone as part of this. We will lightly edit the content that we've recorded today and stick that out. I may actually use an AI editor for that, but we can talk about that later. But we'll get this packaged, and it'll probably take maybe 2 weeks to be able to put things together, because we've got to get the website live first. But then after that, hopefully there'll be some space to get this out. But I hope it's been useful. And if you do have ideas of content that you would like to cover in future Curiosity Club sessions, please do let us know. You may get asked to be a contributor as well, but we can talk about that. But thanks to everyone for being here. Have a great day.